Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to English webinar
Good
Teaching
afternoon.
Stories from the World. This webinar is proudly presented by Kelas Kreatif Indonesia, KKE Lead Indonesia, and 2022 Semangat Berbagi, Semangat Berkolaborasi. I hope that all the speakers, committee, and participants are all in a good condition, and we gratefully deliver our gratitude for your enthusiasm in following this webinar. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Fani Handayani from Kelas Kreatif Indonesia, and in this occasion, I'll be the host for the event. Our session will be started with an introduction to Kelas Kreatif Indonesia by Mr. Dadan as the founder of Kelas Kreatif Indonesia. So I will give the floor first to Mr. Dadan. Hello, Mr. Dadan. Good afternoon. Would you mind introducing Kelas Kreatif Indonesia to all of us so we can just know this community?
Okay, good afternoon, Ms. Fanya. Thank you very much for the introduction. Let me share screen, yeah. Wait a second. Can you see my screen now? Can you see the screen, Ibu Fanya? Okay, thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to our event. In Bandung here, we have a bit of rain, but then do not stop us from excitement to come to the event because we are so excited, yeah, to meet with the presenters from different countries. We are very lucky that today we have 3 presenters from 3 different countries. And thank you very much for the, I think Camelia and Randy and Iskandar is on his way, hopefully. And then we'll lead the session later. So please allow me to introduce the Kelas Kreatif English Club. And my name is Dadan, the representative of Kelas Kreatif Indonesia. So Kelas Kreatif is a personal learning network. And what is a personal learning network? Is a group of colleagues, mentors, and professionals that you connect with to enhance your learning and take charge of your own professional development. It's a global online community that allows you to tap into a broad wealth of knowledge and focus on what you consider most important to your learning. PLNs are especially valuable as new information and ideas are changing the world at much faster pace than ever before. So the growth of Kelas Kreatif as a personal learning network happened before pandemic and during pandemic. So if before pandemic, it happened locally, only the teachers in Bandung, but then during pandemic, with the power of WhatsApp group and then the Zoom meetings, we can connect with educators in many provinces in Indonesia. And we don't have a membership system, but we call all the people in Kelas Kreatif, we call ourselves as learning partners because we are in equal position. I think we start from zero, despite you are a professor, despite you are like the fresh graduate students or experienced teachers, we are like coming back to the zero level when we open our brain to the new information, new knowledge, and strategies, teaching strategies. So far, we have teachers from all over Indonesia, and I do really wish that we can have all teachers from each province in Indonesia. I'm not really sure because I didn't really count from Aceh how many or from West Java how many, but I believe we have the representative from each big islands in Indonesia. We have from Sumatra, Java, Borneo, Sulawesi, Papua, Bali, etc. Nusa Tenggara as well. So what are the benefits of personal learning networks? We have the opportunities to directly improve teaching and learning. We build networking in doing research, writing project, opportunities to lead workshops, professional connection, etc. And then this is very important, keep updated, because sometimes when we go to the when we go and we graduate and we go to the our job, yeah, sometimes we forget because we work every day, and then in certain points I think we need to upgrade ourselves with the new research and emerging technology tools for teaching. And the next one is reflect on ideas. And of course, the last one is develop lifelong learning. What do we do in PLN? Basically, it's a collaboration because we try to share ideas and then we try to share resources, learning materials with other educators. And I do really encourage all educators in Class Creative English Club to take a step, go out of their comfort zone to become the presenters of the webinar or write a book or an article. So basically, not just teaching, but then they need to do something else relating to their professional development. In 2021, we successfully provided or offering 84 free webinars to educators in Indonesia. And then so far, I think at the end of 2021, also we have around 5,700 learning partners in our community. And I do expecting with our event today, we can have long engagement or collaboration with Camelia, with Randi, with Pak Anang from Susi, so that we can enrich our knowledge relating to English teaching, not only in Indonesian context, but also in other countries. So thank you very much for coming and leading the session, and for the presenters and for all of the learning partners that come to our event today. Hopefully we can learn many things, not something, many things from the presenters. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bu Fanya.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Dadang. Yeah, so actually the topic that we will have today is very interesting, and I believe that everyone loves stories. Okay, wait for a moment. Yeah, so let me introduce first with the traditions of telling stories itself. Actually, when we talk about stories, these traditions have been nurtured in any cultures or countries around the world. And stories like Bawang Merah and Bawang Putih, especially in Indonesia, has actually in line with other stories like Cinderella with its different versions. And as an oral tradition, stories like folklore, fables, or fairy tales can be a country's literature identities and traditions that pass from one generation to other generations. And in this webinar, we're going to explore stories from the world and how it's applied in our classroom context. The speakers or the presenters in this webinar are actually alumni of SUSI Secondary Educators 2022. And when we talk about SUSI, Study of U.S. Institutes or SUSI Secondary Educators program, provides secondary school educators to deepen their understanding towards U.S. Society, culture, values, and its institutions. With regards to this background, our presenters will humbly share their fields of interest and expertise in this exciting webinar series. And as a representative of SUSI, I will firstly welcome Mr. Anang Anindyar to give such opening remarks as the representative of SUSI. So good afternoon, Mr. Anang.
All right. Good afternoon.
The floor is yours.
Right. Thank you very much. It is awesome. I'm here. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon, everyone. It is great to see you all here. And it is nice to see you again, Camelia, Randi, and my brother Iskandar. He is here now. Welcome to Indonesia. All right, everyone, teachers, I'm Anang, an English teacher in SMA 3 Sukabumi, West Java. I am one of the participants of SUSI's program for secondary educators 2022. There were 20 participants from all over the world, 19 countries actually. And it is really glad that I can meet you, some of the friends, and I hope This program will continue at least once a month, so we can invite other participants from SUSI's alumni in the upcoming meetings, because there are 19 others are waiting to have their session. Well, everyone, I feel very honored. How is the sound? It works?
Not really, but it's okay. Your sound is fine though. For now. No worries. Keep going, Pak Anang. Yeah, no worries.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Well, everyone, the theme of our discussion today is actually teaching stories. Teaching stories mean how the teaching activity ran in Bulgaria, in Uzbekistan, in Norway. I believe that no one of you are interested in my teaching story because we are living in the same country. Our story, my story and yours are the same. So it will be wiser for me to describe further, to describe more what SUSI is. I will not describe what SUSI is based on the textbook, but more like this is what I experienced during almost 2 months, or more 1 month and more. It is very amazing, very awesome that I can meet great teachers from all over the world. And I believe that since I informed Pak Dadan about SUSIs, there are many numbers appear in my cell phone asking me about what SUSI is and how can I apply for that activity. Well, it is amazing. There are 20 participants from 20 countries, 19 countries, and the 3 are here now. We also have from Singapore, Malta, Macedonia, Pakistan, Greece, Argentina, Peru, and many more. Our activity every day we discuss, every day we learn about, focus on US actually, but in the morning, early in the morning while we are breakfast, and in the day while we are having lunch, in the afternoon, we keep discussing about many things related to our main job, teaching. So I think it is very important for me, for myself, to share this to other teachers. And great thank you to Pak Dadan for giving me this space to share this with you all. Of course, I want tell you more about how beautiful USA is, but there is something more important for me to share. First, related to respect. I am a Muslim, but when I arrived there, I'm thinking that how can I practice my regular religious practice there, Salat and many other things. But in fact, when I arrived there, I found mosque very easily, and I also can find many food, halal food, very easily also. And people there, when I said I am Muslim, they respect me very much. Very nice experience. And Iskandar is one of my best friend here. You and I walk very far just to find halal food, and after several days we realized that halal food is really near our place where we live. Again, I will share. I think slide will help me much. Okay. All right. All right.
Pak Anang, I'm sorry. I think you need to close the Zoom share screen first, and then you try to reopen by opening the PPT. Yeah. Thank you.
Opening the PPT first. Is that what you mean? Okay.
You can share screen now from the PPT.
Yeah. Does it work?
Yes, perfectly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is what SUSI is all about. SUSI is funded by U.S. Department of State's Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs, or ISA, and administered by the Maureen and Mike Mansfield Center and the University of Montana. Everyone, so you don't have to be worried about your expenses because all is funded by the USA. These are all participants. As I told you, we have participants from Bosnia, and I myself from Indonesia, Mongolia, Macedonia, Uganda, Iraq, and more. And this is our daily activity. Early in the morning, we begins at 8:30 and share and listening to the presenters. And our discussion is focused on this understanding of the U.S. society, education, and culture. The overall theme is liberty, equality, and the American dreams. We discuss a lot of topics every day, but somehow this is one of the most interesting part of the program. We went sightseeing. Our main activity, actually, we focus at the ITD office in Amherst, Massachusetts. But every weekend we went somewhere. We enjoy sightseeing in Boston, in New York at the end of the program. We also visited schools there. We discussed with the teachers about curriculum, about how to overcome the situation, how to manage students, and everything. It is very awesome. Also, we visited Harvard University, University of Massachusetts, because we live in Massachusetts, right nearby the university. This is one of the most interesting part of the activity, cultural night. Each of us, all participants should present, should show what should explain, should describe the countries where they are from. Very nice. We visited some museum also, and this one is one of the part of the most of you interested to know more. How can we get the information about SUSI? How to apply for it? Everyone, it is best for you to open up the website of US Embassy. The information are available there about SUSI. Yeah, and also the Instagram. Just keep looking, open it again and again. Even you can have not only SUSI, but also other program which is interested for us to participate in. Well, I think that's all about SUSI, and this is the time for us to listen to hear what are going to share from Randy, Camelia, and Iskandar about their teaching stories. Thank you, Pak. Ibu, I forgot the name. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Anang.
thank you. Go ahead.
That all the participants here are interested in following this program. So if you are interested in registering in this program, you can just visit the website and also the Instagram account. Yeah, we have actually four presenters today, and Mr. Anang has delivered an introduction about what SUSI is. And now I would like to introduce our speakers first. Let me introduce Ms. Randy Hansemer Øygarden from Langhagen Upper Secondary School, Bergen, Norway. Hello, Ms. Randy.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Yeah, and we also have Miss Camelia Sanova from First Private Mathematical Gymnasium, Sofia, Bulgaria. Hello, Miss Camelia.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Miss Camelia and Miss Randy. And we also have Mr. Iskandar Satibev from Specialized School 13, Andijan, Uzbekistan. Hello, Mr. Iskandar. Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, actually, the webinar session will be 15 minutes for each presenter in a subsequent presentation. So I would like to firstly tell all the participants during the session, the participants are required to keep muting the microphone, and you can also ask questions, or if you want to share your personal experience, you can just post it on Zoom chat, and there will be question and answer session. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will firstly welcome Miss Randy to share her experience. Miss Randy, can you please, the time is yours.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. It's a real honor to be here and to speak to so many talented and dedicated teachers and lecturers in Indonesia. So, as Ms. Vanya said, my name is Randy Hinsomaragarden, and I teach history and English at Langhaugen, which is an upper secondary school in Norway. And I would like to, I'm going to have a short presentation today where I introduce the Norwegian school system, Norwegian values in the classroom, and I'll also give some examples of how we teach in Norway. So I have prepared a PowerPoint presentation, so I'm going to share that one with you. Right, can you see it? Okay,
Yeah, very
lovely.
clear.
Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Good. All right, so just to let you know where Bergen is. Some of you might have heard of it, others not. But it is on the west coast of Norway in Northern Europe. It's a coastal city and a medieval city, so lots of history in the city. It's circle red on the map there. This is the city center. It's early morning here now. It's since it's so far up north, it's pitch dark in the winter, but also daylight in the summer. So this is Bergen. This is the school I work at. This is Langhaugen Upper Secondary School. It is a school in one of the suburbs, and we have 630 students in our school, and we teach, this is inside the school, by the way, but we teach music, we teach dance, but also general studies for students who want to go to universities and colleges later. But since we teach those different disciplines, it makes it a very creative and diverse school, which we like. So I don't know how familiar you are with the structure of the Norwegian school system, and it might be similar to the Indonesian system. But school is mandatory in Norway from the age of 6 to the age of 15, 16. So primary school is from the ages 6 to 12, lower secondary school from the ages 13 to 15. And when they start up a secondary school, they can choose, they can do vocational studies, like if they want to become electricians or plumbers or hairdressers, ambulance workers, healthcare workers, etc. Or they can choose to attend general studies, which is you have to do general studies if you want to go to universities later in life. School is free in Norway, also upper secondary school and also universities and university colleges. So it's really down to their interests what the students choose. It's not a matter about money actually. There are some core values in Norway, and they are based on our Christian and humanist heritage. They are human dignity, identity and cultural diversity, critical thinking and ethical awareness. We emphasize the joy of creating, engagement, and the urge to explore. We respect the nature, and we try to encourage environmental awareness, which is more important than ever. And also school is important for our democracy and participation in democracy. And these values, they apply to teachers, but also to students at all levels, and they're implemented in the school system either as working methods, as topics in classes, but also it's something we keep in mind and is important in our, what should I say, school behavior. So, for instance, that all pupils, students, and staff are treated equally with respect and dignity in our daily doings. So that is important to us. Yeah, here are some pictures from the Norwegian classroom. Norwegian classrooms here. And as you can see, all our students have laptops and we have smart boards in our classroom. So we use technology in our teaching. So how do we implement those core values in our teaching? As you can see in these pictures as well, student active learning is key in Norwegian schools, and this is how the core value of critical thinking and joy of creation and exploration come to life. We believe in learning by doing, and teachers are more facilitators of learning instead of lecturers. Or like a source of knowledge. So we try to make the students work as much as possible. Classes range from 15 to 30 students, depending on level. But this allows us teachers to interact a lot with our students. So we sit down with them, chat with them in groups, and have a more informal relationship to our students in many ways. We want to interact with them as much as possible. Some teachers are, of course, more prone to teach from the blackboard than others, and there is a need for us teachers to start a lesson, frame it, and then just for the sake of structure and for I mean, in the end, we are responsible for what we teach and what the students learn. So this student active way of doing our classes, it requires a lot of pre-work in a teacher's daily doing. But we believe in this way of working though. So yeah, here are some pictures as well from one of our chemistry labs. We also have some art students. They can actually choose subjects. So here are some art students. Yeah. So most teachers, we follow this one quite well-known staircase of learning, which is, I guess, goes back to Vygotsky. And this first they have to learn the facts, and so they can reproduce them, and then they can retell them. And when they know that, then they can discuss and then analyze and reflect on topics. So this is something we try to implement in longer periods of time. but we can also have it, we keep it in mind in every lesson as well. So I thought I'd give you some examples from my English classroom, and then hopefully that will provide you with some ideas as well, and we might use different things. But this is a very standard lesson structure. We start with a startup activity, and we do that to revise knowledge from last lesson and to create cohesion. We also want to create some curiosity for today's topic, and I'll show you some examples of it later. Then the next step in a lesson is that the students research, they find and they learn information. They might be given research questions and then they go online since they all have laptops. And then they take notes, for example, or they write a tiny text or something like that. And then, but they might also use the textbooks. And then the third step is a discussion and reflection phase, where they often get together in groups, as you can see in the picture there, where they sum up what they've found, they see pros and cons of things, and so on. And then the lesson ends with just a roundup that what have we actually learned today? Are there any new questions? What should we take from today's lesson and use in our next lessons? Is there something else we need to look up for the research? So when it comes to tools, like I mentioned here, the startup activities, there is a great tool called Kahoot, which I can highly recommend. It's free. If you want additional functions, you have to pay for it, but the standard is free. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's great for revision. The teacher makes like a quiz, and the students answer with their phones. They can work in groups, they can work individually, but it intrigues the students because it's kind of like a competition, but it is educational as well, and so they love that. We also use something called LearnLab, which is also interactive. They can make online mind maps. They can answer questions as well. We can do polls. And when we use digital tools, and especially if the students have to work individually, everyone has to participate. And that is often a bit a challenge when we're working with teenagers aged 16 to 19. There are always some slackers in the back of the classroom. It could also be just a simple mind map where I tell the students to find a pen and a piece of paper, and I give them 2 minutes. I have the stopwatch, and I tell them to write down everything they know about this and that topic, just to get them started. So it's yes, I'm a facilitator, but the students must do the work. So then we move on to next phase, which is the research and production phase. We ask them to write texts. It could be that they should make a video, write an opinion piece, write a newspaper article, something like that. This is an example from something I did last week. We are working on street art, or art in general, but now street art in Bergen. So it gives them this task. They have to choose 2 pieces of street art, and they have to research and discuss those pieces and the message of them. And then they had to make a video about it. So this is a task where everything is implemented. They have to research, they have to discuss, they have to analyze, and they also have to reflect when is street art and when is it vandalism. So all the things we value in Norwegian schools. So yeah, they often produce things. 2 of my students. This is from history, but we also work with wallpapers. So they worked with this Chico civilization in South America. And this is from the final phase where we discuss and reflect and come up with new questions. So they sit in groups. If it's needed, then I give them some questions to look at. But this is also a phase where they have to ask new questions. What new questions have arisen in this time? There are, of course, some challenges teaching this way. I mean, students have different interests and they have different skills and knowledge. Sometimes we work individually, but they also have to work in groups, and that might be a challenge. But we believe in learning in a collective unit, and sometimes it works, but we should also be aware of the challenges, and that's when the teacher must come in and help them on the way or in the learning process. This way of teaching, compared to more like a blackboard teaching, is a bit time consuming. And it doesn't necessarily prepare them for studies at universities and colleges, which is more lecture based. But so there is a balance in it all, but Norwegian schools have changed a lot, and I guess the key for us is to prepare them for life later, that they should become independent learners, and that they should that we want them to not just retell information, but be able to analyze and be critical judges of what they learn. So I think that was it. That was a crash course to Norwegian schools. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have later on, and I'm also happy to share links to the resources I mentioned. So I guess Vanya might be able to share that information or share links or my contact information. So yes, I think I'll just stop sharing my screen there. There we are.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Randy. Yeah, so actually it's a very meaningful sharing. Yeah, so actually teachers in Indonesia need these inspirations, because like we also face those challenges. And I also see a question from the participant, from one of the participants, that we can discuss later on question and answer session. Okay, so now I would like to call Ms. Camelia Sonova. Hello, Ms. Camelia. Would you mind sharing? Yeah, you can just share things, or you want to share slides of presentation. Time is yours.
Okay, I think that Mr. Dadan can share mine. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to be here today. My name is, already was said, is Camelia, and I'm going to tell you about my teaching experience, tell you my story, teaching English in my home country, Bulgaria. Here you can see the logo of my school, Forest Private Mathematical Gymnasium, which is the mathematical symbol of pi. So I have the pleasure of teaching in a private school. In Bulgaria, there are several types of school. The public schools are normally separated to elementary schools, junior highs, and high schools. And there are three main ways of learning English, mostly language centers. We study English in public schools from the second grade, and the private schools, of course, teach English more. So now, okay, maybe we can continue with the second slide, where you can see my school. That's it. So I work for the only private mathematical school in Bulgaria, and I will tell you more about it in particular. This photo in particular shows the graduation ceremony, which really is the peak for us as teachers and educators, because we see how well our students manage to find their way to some of the best universities in Europe. Normally they go there. to study, France and Germany and Great Britain or Ireland, mostly. However, it takes a lot of time and effort to be able to enjoy the results of this work. And that's why our school motto is the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, a quotation by the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. We try to implement this quotation in our teaching approaches. So this person here that you can see, the blonde woman, is our late headmistress. She's the person who developed the school, who created the school. Unfortunately, we lost her tragically last year, but she was the facilitator and the mastermind behind the idea of opening the first private mathematical school, because she wanted to develop something that is not easily achieved in Bulgaria. I don't know if you know where Bulgaria is, because unlike Randy, I forgot to put the map, since geography is obviously not my strong point, but it's in Eastern Europe next to Greece and Turkey. We're a post-communist country where we still have a lot to catch up. Even though I have been a member of the European Union for the last 15 years, we still have a lot to catch up in terms of teaching strategies and in terms of using technology in the classroom, which we'll talk about later. So our school is different than most Bulgarian schools with the fact that we try to really implement as much as we can from good practices in Europe. So in the third picture, we can also see this graduation ceremony and our headmistress. She sees the graduates off here, wishing them luck. And that's the front part of the school. So here, let me introduce myself and my school a little bit further. I have been a teacher of English and literature for about 15 years now, and it's going to be my 12th year in this particular school. Right now, I'm only teaching high school students, but I have been through ages and levels. So I'm interested in creative teaching approaches that motivate students to participate actively in the classroom. Mostly I try to do that using drama while I teach English, because we can do that since we have it in our curriculum. And I believe that students get really engaged when they get to act out, when they get to participate in drama. Poetry is also a good way to study and teach English. We have the practice of holding debates in English. Our students also participate in many contests and competitions, not only in math, because math is our primary subject here, but English is also a very important subject in our school. So here you can see some of the awards our students received. And here in this slide, you can see some Bulgarian traditions that we try to keep alive, even though we incorporate them with the English language ones, such as Halloween. We have our own. Here you can see the masks that our students prepared for the Bulgarian version of Halloween. It's the last day of winter, when they try to chase evil spirits away and awaken the spring. And on the other picture, where you can see these white and red clothes, they're welcoming first day of spring. So these are some typically Bulgarian traditions that we try to keep. Yes, you can continue with the next slide. So this is our typical classroom. Right now there are no students because we're still having our holiday. We have one more week, so it's empty, but we have all the technology necessary for our teaching. We have the smart boards, we have projectors, multimedia. Our students are also allowed to use tablets and mobile phones for the needs of their studies, if necessary. So even though we're not the best yet, we really put a lot of effort into implementing technology in the classroom. Here you can see a typical day at school, where our school council, that consists of high school students, visits the younger students and try to teach them some of the subjects. There are such days in our school when teachers and students kind of reverse their places. So we can see such a lesson here where a student has become a teacher for a day. And it's good to share this experience and to just to give students the opportunity of taking more responsibility, which is kind of crucial for them. And I believe it helps them develop their communication skills better. So we teach English not only for communication, but for academic purposes as well. However, communication remains the main focus, the main aspect we have, especially in the first years. Bulgarian schools are interesting with the fact that when students enter high school, if they choose to study in an English language school or in language school in general, they have the first year of high school only learning the language, no matter how proficient they have become until then. They had they get 19 classes of studying the language a week, so they managed to develop quite proficient use of the language. And in the second year of high school, they study some of the school subjects in the language. It may be English or another foreign language, but it's a good thing. And I believe it's one of the good practices that remained from back in times when we were under this different structure in our government. So nowadays we have managed to preserve it and develop it further, hopefully. And that's what our school looks like here. Well, my story of teaching as a student, high achievers, teaching high achievers has some challenges, but it's the best experience a teacher can have because they're highly motivated. We have some photos from the creative writing competition here with the awards at the right angle. Each year there is a creative writing in English competition organized by the state. Our students participate and they have been taught many strategies to develop their creative writing, which is very beneficial for them. We also teach literature and culture as a way of learning the language better. As a way of teaching multiculturalism as well, because we participate in many projects with different schools from all over Europe. And here you can see the Bulgarian flag. And this is the time when we had guests from 5 European countries participating in an Erasmus project. That motivates students to study English because they have to be fluent in English if they want to participate in this project. And of course, raising awareness of global issues is quite important. Along with inviting the world in your classroom. So the more you know about the world, the more you know about different cultures, the more you're able to understand it and, of course, be a better citizen of the world, which is, after all, what we aim at. Okay? So these are the main points that I try to touch upon. And now, because I have been talking a lot, I try to ask my students what they think of being taught English in Bulgaria. So 2 of them were kind enough to share their thoughts, and you can listen to what they have to say. Okay.
Hey guys, it's me, Alex, the best student my teacher has ever had, and the most humble one at that. I'm joking, of course. Right now, I will be around 17 years old, and I will be in the 11th grade at the first private mathematics school. So my teacher has asked me to share my personal experiences with studying English in Bulgaria. Honestly, right now I've been studying English for 10 years straight, and I think that Bulgaria is still a bit lacking in technologies. Many teachers fail to utilize the use of interactive technologies, like, let's say, videos or questions on the board or that sort of thing. It's not as common here in Bulgaria as to other countries. On the bright side, though, I think that many Bulgarians hold their own compared to other foreigners that are not native English speakers. I think that a lot of people my generation can, even as little as to go out and give simple directions to a foreigner, excuse me. I think there are even a lot of teachers here in Bulgaria that have the confidence and competency to teach you not only good English, but make you fluent in the language and make you be able to, I'd say, speak your mind clearly. So yeah, that's about it for what I think. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my response, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.
Salutations! My name is Bojan Trendafilov, and I attend the first private mathematics high school in Sofia. I am a soon-to-be 11th grader. I have been studying English for almost 12 years now, and I believe I'm quite proficient in using it. This is because, even though the quality of state school English teaching is quite poor, due to inexperienced, lukewarm teachers and uncaring students, the quality of language schools and private schools like mine more than makes up for it.
Well, okay, so to sum up after everything I've said, again, teaching English in Bulgaria, because that's my personal story, it feels like opening a window to the endless wonders the world has to offer, and we're there to see them. So thank you very much for listening to me, sharing my personal story. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Camelia. Wow, so from these two presenters, actually we have such kind of role models, yeah, how to deal with students and how to apply stories in, let's say, in the lesson. And we are seeking for another inspiration from Mr. Iskandar. Hello, Mr. Iskandar.
Can you hear me
Yeah.
well?
Yes, I can hear your voice quite well. So would you mind sharing your slides of presentation? Yours.
Of course. I have just emailed my presentation. Is it possible to share it for me, or shall I share my own screen? Oh yeah, that's good. Thank you very much. So, hello everybody, dear colleagues. I'm particularly happy to see you again, Camelia, Randy. How are you doing? Brother Anang, I hope you are doing well too. And I want to thank everybody here for this wonderful opportunity of sort of reuniting, although partly and although digitally, but still it's very pleasant. And Anang, I should say that when you were presenting all these wonderful things about SUSI program, you forgot to mention Berkshire Commons, because I believe everybody agrees that it was one of the most wonderful parts of the SUSI program. So, hello everybody, my name is Iskandar Saptabayev, and I'm an English teacher, and I teach at Specialized Boarding School number 1, located in Andijan city. The thing is that when I met my friends during SUSI program, my school was called like Specialized School number 13. But since then, some reforms have taken place, and now it has been turned into Specialized Boarding School number 1. And just to give you the general idea of where Uzbekistan is, you can look at the global map and see it's located in Central Asia, and we are neighbors with such countries as Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan. There are 5 neighbors, and hope we are living with them quite peacefully. And this is the map of high resolution map of Uzbekistan. And next slide shows the location of my hometown, which is called Andijan, the red spot. And I should say that the population of Uzbekistan is about 35 million people, and 10% of the population resides in this red spot. Therefore, it is one of the most densely populated areas, not only locally, but also globally. And the interesting thing about Uzbekistan is that it's mostly Muslim country. More than 90% of its population are Muslims, and Uzbekistan in the Muslim world is famous for such outstanding scholars as Imam al-Bukhari, Imam al-Tirmidhi, etc. And this fact is appreciated by most of the world. So I'm also proud to be from this country. Now, speaking about my professional activity, next slide shows the general view or the entrance to my school. It has recently been reconstructed, so it looks quite new and fashionable. And that guy in white shirt is my colleague. I just felt too shy to tell him to step away, so he's just in the picture. So this is the entrance to the school where I work. And if you look at the next slide, you can see that this is the general entrance or the foyer. It's quite beautiful. It has always been quite beautiful. And thanks to the recent refurbishment works, it has become even more attractive. And the design looks quite modern. And next slide shows a look at one of the halls where students can hang out. Here we have a chessboard, and the students here or teachers can enjoy playing chess with each other. And the next slide shows that, well, this is just a typical corridor during the break time. The thing is that the school has been opened quite recently. It opened on the 6th of September, so literally 3 days ago. And everybody here is like brand new. And I haven't had an opportunity to get good interaction with everyone. So my presentation of my school may look quite shallow in comparison to that of Randy or Camelia. So I'm sorry for that. And next slide shows my research interests. So I think that the information about my school is sufficient for the beginning, because the school is quite new, as I told, and I haven't had quite much experience over there. So now I want to, or I would like to share my research interest as a teacher with you. And as my research area for my PhD, I have chosen such an area of learning as mnemonics. And the question may be, what is mnemonics and why is mnemonics used? The thing is that in Uzbekistan, most English learners or most people, most young people are interested in learning English because English is the language which opens global opportunities to them. However, I began teaching in 2006, so it means I have had about like 16 years of teaching experience. And throughout this period, learning patterns and learning habits of students have changed greatly. What I mean is that if in 2006 students were okay with working much with writing skills or learning vocabulary, etc., now they are becoming increasingly lazy in this respect. And of course, if we consider it as a sort of teaching challenge, as a teacher, we have to find a solution. And many students sometimes fail at learning vocabulary properly because they think, and sometimes they think it fairly, that learning vocabulary is difficult and it's boring, etc. And in order to find a way out of this situation, I did some research, which was like in 2013, from where I started my work on mnemonics. And mnemonics is the method. Next slide describes what mnemonics is. Mnemonics are memory tools that serve as bridges to help you recall information and concepts from long-term memory. What does it mean? For example, as a foreign speaker of English, when you hear certain English words, they may sound quite similar to your mother tongue or to any language which you speak. And of course, it is possible to make a certain connotation or a certain association with that word, and it will help you to memorize that word more easily. For example, there is an English word, a car, right? A vehicle, a car. And in English, in Uzbek, we have a word kar, which means a person who cannot hear, right? And for example, we can make up a creative mnemonic tool out of the situation. You are driving a car and you face a person who is kar, right? Who cannot hear you. So you keep honking and he does not stop, he does not hear you, so you have to stop your car. So this association with that situation and those feelings which you feel when you try to associate the idea of driving a car and stopping it abruptly in front of a person who cannot hear you, make you feel certain feelings. And when this information, vocabulary related to that feeling are associated together, it will be easier to memorize that concept or that new word. And of course, mnemonics as an educational tool is useful not only for just memorizing new information, but also it helps the student to develop his creative thinking skills and abstract thinking skills, because in order to find associations and in order to create good images in his mind, he has to be creative and use his thinking skills a lot. And another effective method of mnemonics is considered to be the loci method. And this method involves associating information with their locations. For example, I am quite sure that all the educators over here go into the classroom and they remember where each student sits. And for example, if you see an empty chair, you know at once which student is missing. And why? Because you are accustomed to seeing that student at that place all the time. So loci method uses something similar. When you learn information, you find different locations in your mind, or you put you create different locations in your mind, and you put the new knowledge which you learn into those places. And you sort them in such a way that when it is necessary, you just retrieve that information, and it feels quite easy. A bright example of loci method was demonstrated in this series called Sherlock, created by BBC. There, this detective Sherlock uses this loci method in order to locate the necessary information, and he finds answers to lots of questions quite easily. And next method of mnemonics, which is also considered to be quite interesting, is picture associations. The thing is that when we perceive information only as text, like for example, the word written like a dog, and it's its translation in your language, it's just a text. And of course, you may memorize it, but it will take you lots of effort and it may feel quite boring. But if you use visual aspect of this information, of course, it will be easier for you to memorize information. By picture association, I mean that when you learn a new word, it may be presented by means of graphic information, or it may be presented through a video. But the main idea here is that to show the student what the meaning of this word looks like. And when the student perceives not only the text information, but also a piece of visual information, then of course it will be easier for him to learn this information for a longer time. And next type of mnemonics is called, or is named as acronyms. And we know that there are lots of bunches of information which students have to memorize. And one of them is given over here. For example, in America, we have this group of lakes, which is called the Great Lakes. And these Great Lakes consist of 5 smaller lakes. And if you want to learn them for good, then it's a good idea to use this acronym called HOMES. And here H stands for Huron, O stands for Ontario, M for Michigan, Erie, and Superior, etc. So collecting information into such groups of acronyms makes it easier for students to make the information more available and more organized for themselves. And yes, these are the types of mnemonics, but mnemonics is not limited to this. And it has been my research of interest since 2013. And I have written several articles locally and internationally in this area. And right now I am working on my 3rd book devoted to this method of mnemonics. So this is what I teach, and this is one of the ways how I teach English. And thank you very much again for giving me this opportunity to share my experience.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Iskandar. Wow, it's interesting. Yeah, I guess it's also applicable for us teachers in Indonesia to enhance students' vocabularies. We can just use this method as well. Okay, so we can just come up to with a question and answer session. As I told previously, that actually you can just raise questions on Zoom chat, or if you want to ask question directly, I will give you time as well. I will firstly take one of questions from Zoom chat, and I guess it's quite interesting to discuss. Let me take from Ibu Yauma Yuli, and this question is actually for Miss Randy. In your presentation, like you share that you in your school or probably in the curriculum, there are some methods in conducting the lesson, like how to build students' critical thinking, the steps of teaching, which include like reproduce and what else? You know, like reproduce, retell, discuss, analyze, and reflect. Can you share the methods, the methods, and how do you enhance, or how do you develop students' critical thinking through those methods?
Well, I can start with how my students retell or reproduce or something, those things. It could be done both orally or in written work. It could be, for instance, that they have to, my students are given, say if they read a text, for example, they have to retell it orally, or they must write a summary. It depends on the topic, really. Sometimes I also use the jigsaw method, so I give them one part each, and they have to retell and teach their classmates about that particular text extract or area they studied, and they do that. For instance, they make a little PowerPoint with, I tell them to say use 3 slides, and they have 2 minutes to retell what they just read or something like that. So that's one way of retelling or just learning information. I also encourage them to take notes, because that's important, at least when they get to university and university colleges. And when it comes to how to encourage and enhance their analytical and skills in reflection, there could be several. I ask them open questions, and they have to, and I tell them to, depending a bit on the level, but I might ask them to do a pros and cons, for example, and they have to make a bullet point list, and then they have to, or I tell them that, okay, you should argue for this side of the matter, and you should argue for that side of the matter, and you are not allowed to move from that. They have to do it. But I can also, for instance, give them 2 opinion pieces with opposing views, and so they can see one topic from different sides, which is often, which I think is important, especially in the world we're in this internet age, where we tend to end up in echo chambers. We just read newspapers we like, we read opinion pieces we like, etc., etc. So those are just simple methods which I use. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Randy. Yeah, and how about Ms. Camelia? Some participants are also asking about like the changings of curriculum, like, you know, like in Indonesia, teachers are facing like subsequent differences towards the curriculum because of, let's say, different minister or something. And what can you share the curriculum applied in your school, and how do teachers usually teach English, whether as a second or foreign language?
Thank you for this question. Yes, the curriculum has always been a challenge because in our country it is developed by the Ministry of Education to be applicable to everyone. And since we're lucky enough to have high achievers, we sometimes dare to adapt our curriculum to the needs of our students, and which we are allowed to do because we're a private school. However, the situation is not the same everywhere. So me in particular, I can make some changes in the curriculum if I find it necessary. But pretty much we have the same amount of classes. So for high school, the first year, we have many classes of English, 19 or 20 a week, which kind of allows us to use different approaches, to use drama in the classroom, as I said. Later, when the students become grade 9 or the second year of high school, they have 8 classes of English a week, which is still enough to prepare them for exams and to try to engage them in more entertaining methods of learning, if I may say so. We try to follow the curriculum by the ministry, but we also adapt it. So it's important to have this freedom. And I'm lucky enough to say that I do have it. So I'm allowed to make changes in the curriculum. And for the last years in high school, we mostly focus on the practical aspect of the language. We study a lot about different cultures. We study multiculturalism, and we also try to raise awareness of global issues, which are important for further perspective that students have about the world. And since they turn into responsible adults, they should be aware of these changes. So I believe that nowadays the curriculum is quite relevant to our necessity.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Miss Camelia. Okay. I can just choose one of the participants here who has raised their hands here. I will call Miss Anggia.
Thank you, Miss Fanya. I think I would like to ask Miss Randi from, if I'm not mistaken, Norwegia. Is it right? I saw your presentation just now is very good and very comprehensive, and I can see the vibes of Norway. That I want to ask, compare with Indonesia, because English in Indonesia become a foreign language. I want to ask you how you motivate your students to speak in English, whether it is second language or foreign language in your environment. Because in Indonesia, students, what is it? Still unconfident to speak, to explore their language, especially English. Thank you, Ms. Randy. I guess, can I ask 3 of them or just one?
Yeah. I will give another opportunity to another participant.
Thank you,
Yeah.
and thank you for Miss Camelia and also Mr. Iskandar. Nice to see you all. Thank you.
One more question. I guess I will call Mr. Abhinav. Is it right? Okay, you can just unmute your mic.
Yes, Miss. Thank you so much. Can you hear me, everyone? I'm sorry if sometimes my mic doesn't work. So good evening, everyone. It's evening for me, so you can take it as good morning, good afternoon, depending on the time. Mr. Iskandar, I have one question for you. Can you help me out with, like, it's sometimes my students, they know how to speak English, of course, but they really have a hard time speaking English. Like they always say, Mr. I'm not confident. So can you tell me a way to make it more confident? You know, I just want to know, how can I make them more confident? And yes, by the way, for kind information, my name is Abhinav and I'm from India. Yes, Mr. Iskandar?
The question to me, sorry, sorry, yeah. Thank you very much for this wonderful question. In fact, English for Uzbek students is a foreign language, plus Uzbek belongs to the family of languages, and English belongs to the languages are totally different, which makes it even harder to learn. And of course, apart from linguistic aspect of speaking, I believe that because I have witnessed the cases when even students who have very good knowledge of English grammar and who have quite broad vocabulary are very uncomfortable speaking English. And when you ask them, like, when are you going to speak at all, they answer like, when I learn English completely, which is impossible. So if you adopt a system for speaking languages by a Russian specialist called Dmitry Petrov, you can search for his lessons online. His lessons are available on YouTube, and the lessons are called Polyglot English in 16 hours. So the method is called Polyglot English in 16 hours. And if you view those videos, Mr. Petrov goes through speaking lessons step by step, and he begins from the very basic, and he shows how simple English is. For example, we know that in many European languages like Russian or German, we have lots of endings. We have different forms for person, number, etc., etc. But English doesn't, right? For example, we have one subject and we can put any verb in the simple tense and we will get the correct sentence. And when you show the student that, for example, he can make up a sentence in present simple without much grammar effort, then you can see that he's becoming more confident. For example, I work, you work, we work, they work. Now it's a question, right? And what you say is that, do you want to make it? Sorry, it's a sentence, right? And if you say, okay, do you want to make a do you want to make a question? Yes, just put a do before that. And he says, do I work? Do you work? Do we work? Etc. And you say, okay, just put don't after the subject. I don't work. You don't work. Aha! Now you are speaking English. You can say an affirmative sentence. You can ask a question, and you can answer the question positively or negatively. And when he has answered, I mean, when he has made all these three forms, then you can begin asking these simple questions and let him answer. For example, do you work? Yes, I work. Do you work? No, I don't work. So now you are already having a conversation with your student, although it's on a basic level, but still, if you keep going and adding different elements like to be, next time, some adverbs, third time, some modals, fourth time, etc., etc. So it's up to you to decide how complicated next lesson will be. But what I want to say here is that when you present the simplest aspects of English in terms of grammar, the student will find out that there is no problem about grammar, and he will feel quite confident. Another thing is that to show, I mean, it's a bit related to the aspect of mnemonics, you should show that he already knows at least 500 English words, although he thinks that he knows nothing. Like, for example, such words as internet, printer, SMS, mobile phone, all these things are now, all these words are internationally acknowledged. And even, for example, a guy from, I don't know which country, which is very far from England or America, he understands those words. And when you show him that he understands these words, he will become more confident and he will say, aha, I don't know, I mean, it's not the fact that I don't know English at all, right? I know something and there is something to rely on. And if he begins from that point, I'm sure, because I have experienced it many times, his progress will be better than in any other case.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Iskander. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Thank you so much for wonderful advice. Thank you. Miss Vanny, thank you so much for giving the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Iskander and Mr. Aminev. Okay, Miss Randy, would you mind answering the questions from Miss Anggia?
Yes, I could just say that that's a problem we share because it can be difficult to make students age 16 to 19 speak in a different language. English, just to make that clear, English is a foreign language in Norway as well. but students or pupils start learning it at the age of 6. So they become quite good at it once they start upper secondary school. But they think it's embarrassing. They think it's cringy. So I tell them about why it is important, and I speak to them a bit about that if they want to improve their English, they have to speak English. But I also start at a low level. I only speak English in my classroom, by the way. So, and they don't know that I speak Norwegian as well. But I start at a low level. So just the first lesson, I have this game where they roll a die and they have to say simple sentences. The game has it's like Snakes and Ladders, if you know that game. And so they move their markers, and then they might have to answer a question like, what is your favorite movie? What music do you like to listen to? What do you like to eat for dinner? Simple questions like that, and in a game form. And that is so that's it's like it's playful, it's very low key. So I start there, and then also I just make them chat in pairs, just 2 and 2 students together, and then I can a couple of weeks with that, and then I move up to and make groups of 4, and so on and so on. So I build it up, and I'm very aware of it. But it's also important, if they speak Norwegian to me, then then they show a very low competence of English. That shows no competence in English at all. So they are aware of that, and that I assess them continuously. So that's why they kind of have to speak English as well. But once they, it takes a couple of weeks to play with it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Randy. Yes, actually, I believe that all the participants, all teachers in Indonesia are enthusiastic to have this session. Yeah, so probably in the following opportunities, Kelas Kreatif Indonesia can also provide more opportunities, for us teachers in Indonesia to get more discussions with Ms. Camelia, Ms. Randy, Mr. Iskandar. Okay.
All subjects are mandatory up to the age of 17. When they're 17 or in their second year of upper secondary school, they have to do Norwegian, mathematics, and a foreign language. But they can also choose 3 subjects. So they can choose biology, or they can choose arts, or they can choose physics, or English. So they have 2 years where they can choose subjects, and that if they want to become a doctor, for instance, they have to do chemistry and physics and advanced maths, or if they want to but if they want to be a language teacher, they might choose English, advanced English, and psychology, for instance, or other subjects.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Randy. Yeah, so actually we have limited time. I believe that this session will be very interesting and meaningful, not only for me, but also for English teachers in Indonesia. And surprisingly, actually, there will be door prize, because Mr. Dadan has told me that I can just choose one from the participants who have raised for questions here. I do my apologize, because not all participants can have opportunity to raise your concerns here. Hopefully in the following sessions, Kelas Kreatif Indonesia can help another session with Susi. Mr. Anang, you can also share further about your experience, the challenges, Ms. Camelia, Ms. Randy, and Mr. Iskandar, because participants are also asking about how to apply for this program, and what challenges did you face during the program, and etc. So let me choose one participant to get their prize for today's session, Mr. Dadan. I guess I will give it to Mr. Benry to show my respectful and my gratitude for his patience and following this webinar. You can just follow our next sessions because Kelas Kreatif Indonesia will collaborate with many people, with educators, not only from Indonesia, but also from educators worldwide. So stay tuned for the following webinars, yeah, because we can have more interesting topics to discuss. We have limited time. I do apologize, everyone. Thank you for your enthusiasm. Thank you for your participation. I humbly appreciate your passions in following this session because you have spent almost 1 hour, one and a half hour, yeah, with us. Hopefully you can get inspirations, you can get lessons, and we can learn one another. Let's just have photo session first. Ms. Camelia, Ms. Randi, and Mr. Anang and Mr. Iskandar. And also all the participants, can you please turn on your camera? Okay, actually we have around 170 participants back then, but only 140 participants stay until now. So let me take the screen first. So please.
I will help you, Miss Vanya.
Oh yeah. Okay, Miss Tina will help us to take the capture. Okay. So let's start from the first screen.
Yeah. I have 3 slides. So the first slide, please may I have your big smile, please? 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. And now, wait. Let's move to the second slide. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. And the last one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Miss Vanya. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Tina. Yeah, thank you, everyone. It's been interesting and insightful sharing sessions with Miss Camelia, Miss Randy, Mr. Anang, and Mr. Iskandar. Thank you for spending your time with us, Teachers Indonesia. And we are waiting for other sessions, yeah, other webinars from Kelas Kreatif Indonesia. I hope we can nurture and we can improve ourselves from this teacher professional development. Have a great day.
Vanya, I'm sorry, we haven't started the game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Mr. Dadan.
Yeah. So one of the presenter can ask question and the participant can answer on the Zoom chat. So can be Camelia, Randy, or Pak Anang, one question.
Okay, I
kind of like Kelas Kreatif culture, yeah, for having the prize at the end of the session. Yeah.
Camelia, would you mind delivering one question to the participants, and let's see who can answer fastly on the Zoom chat. You can relate things and your country. You have shared about like
so any of the presenter will ask question?
Do you want to ask question to the participants and let the participants and answer it on the chat? Miss Camelia, Miss Randy, or Mr. Anang, or even Mr. Iskandar? Challenge us with one question.
I have a question, if I may ask it. Yes. Yeah. I would like to know, how do you encourage learning amongst your students in Indonesia? I think that's such a universal question. It's a huge question, but I'd like to know.
Okay, so teachers, you can share your answers on the chat. Can you repeat the question, Miss Randy?
Yes. How do you encourage learning and the appreciation of learning amongst your students?
Okay.
Okay, so far we have 2, we have 3, we have 4. I will lock the answer until I have like might be around 10, yeah. Randy, so you can pick one, the best answer from the participants. Okay, so I already locked the answer. Number 1, by giving game, that's number 1. Number 2 is I always by making them confidence with their ability to learn English, making the class fun and comfortable. I motivate them to learn English by telling them how great it will be to be able to master English, and one day they can travel around the world. And the third one, by asking students there to speak in ceremonial flag. I always start my teaching through an English video song. Bringing stories and mimes during the session. I encourage them with giving some points if they can active in my class, through games, giving them reward. And then I told them, if you can speak English, you can go abroad and meet the Hollywood stars. That's the last answer. So which one you choose, Randy? The best answer among all the answers from the participants?
I think the one that stood out to me was the one about music. I think that's, I'm not good at it myself, but I think that's music is that's something that really teenagers love. So that's a good idea.
Okay, thank you very much, Randy. So congratulations, Ibu Penny Ariati from Bandung, I believe. Bandung or Cimahi, I'm not sure.
Bandung, Pak Dadan. Thank you very
Bandung.
much.
Okay, congratulations.
Randy, Camelia, Iskandar, Pak Anang, and Kelas Kreatif Indonesia, and all participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.
Ufanya.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Dadan. Yeah, thank you for all the presenters who have shared their experiences in this field of expertise. I hope that we can discuss in other occasions, and nice to have you. We can just welcome you if you want to spend your holiday, your summer holiday in Indonesia, just visit Indonesia. And we can also, let's say, probably like sharing sessions, offline sharing sessions with Kelas Kreatif Indonesia. Have a nice day, everyone. Have a great Friday. Stay safe and healthy.
Thank you, Miss Sonia.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Camelia and Miss Randy and Mr. Iskandar. Thanks.
Thank you, Miss Pania. Nice to meet you.
Thank you,
for
Miss
sharing.
Pania. Camelia, thank you very much. Randy, thank you very much. Pak Anang, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Anang.
Great session, though. Learning a lot from
Sharing your stories.
I think we will have another session next month, yeah, Pak Anang.
Yeah, inshallah. So.